Those are my day live glasses. So, They Live, I wanted to continue talking about it because there was so much in that movie that I didn't talk about. And for you to watch and learn, but I just want to spark that insight by some observations. So, you see in the movie how that guy, when he's homeless at the start of the movie, he's sitting in the back alley and he hears the TV. And there's this lady on the TV, and she's talking about how her dream is to be like on TV, and she wants to be famous and worshipped and adored by everybody, you know. And here he is sitting with no freaking warmth, no heat in the cold. He's sitting, no food, no shelter, no bed. And this bitch right here is talking about, I feel so famous and people love me and they adore me. And then you see all the advertisements in the TV, you know. The TV is supposedly where the aliens are sending their evil signal from, you know, their mind control signal from. And it's very true that's what's going on. Um, so, you see how the ladies are being promoted to be into the fashion, and how lies are being promoted, and they're telling the guys how they should be all into sports and winning and competing, and the rush for the adrenaline, that's what it's all about in the media, and that's what's been promoting by these alien creatures, basically the psychopathic deviant personality, the narcissistic, the ones that make the narcissistic people narcissistic by the promotion of a culture that forces them to become narcissistic in order to survive, for their human basically needs to be met. But I mean, of course, when you run after lust and desire and fulfilling your own will instead of God's will, there are going to be problems for other people that are going to arise because of that. So that's what's shown in that movie They Live, because it's all about good and evil. And obviously, if you want to promote evil, you'll have to target the men and the women, and they show that brilliantly in They Live. And they also show how the man, the hero in the movie, his kryptonite is the woman, who's actually all for the government and the system and the aliens, because I don't know, she gets personal benefit from it, So even his he also has his Eve in the story, basically, who sells him out. Right at the end, But obviously the man is superior to the woman, so he shoots her and destroys the signal. um, so that's They Live. It's not a sexist movie. It's a very good movie. It's a brilliant movie, actually. I love it. It just talks about how the signal, or Satan's, the evil force in the world, who wants to control you and tell you how to live your life and what is good for you and what is bad for you, and make you feel bad if you don't follow their dictates, or make you suffer if you want to really challenge them. And They Live brilliantly shows how evil is promoted in the women's society, All the gossip and everything is shown in there. All the vanity is shown in there. All the irresponsible, well, not irresponsible, but all the worship of authority is shown there. A lot of stuff in that movie to observe. Okay, and another great movie, which I haven't seen in a long time, unfortunately, so I can't speak too much on it, but it's Eyes Wide Shut. It talks about sex a lot, and very much, and it shows how sex controls society of the lower class and the oligarchy class, and then there's a upper middle class guy who's the main hero in the story, and he has to go through his own journey of awakening to how a powerful sex is a force in the world, you know. And he's a guy who deals with bodies of women, but he never realized how much it controls things in the world. Uh, Eyes Wide Shut, you know, the blind American in the dream, living the American dream. So that's Eyes Wide Shut. The next one is a couple of movies. Remember, I talked about American Pie and how there's a whole class of movies in that genre. So there's a couple of those that talk about the cultural revolution, you know, the sexual revolution and the drugs, sex, and rock and roll revolution. Because drugs and sex are connected. They tend to bring the energy to alcohol, especially towards the lower chakras. So the downward moving force, you know, the downward moving force, uh, as opposed to the um, upward, balancing the chi. So that's They Live, and that's Eyes Wide Shut. Okay. Next we have the class of movies, like I said, in the Van Wilder category, and one of them is Fast Times at Ridgemont High. I don't know if it's that movie that I'm thinking of or if it's Dazed and Confused, but it's one of those stoner movies talking about the 70s culture. And in that movie, you see how this young, guy straight out of middle school coming to high school, and he gets recruited by this group of older dudes who act like mentors to him, and they train him on how to get the dream girl who's a 10th grader or something like that, you know, and kind of shows him a little interest. So they train him how to be smooth and pick her up. So that was a great movie. I think it was Fast Times or no, it was Dazed and Confused. Yeah, DC, Dazed and Confused. Yeah. In that movie they show that I think it was, but both movies are probably good to study the whole uh, how they manipulate the youth basically with sex and drugs to do a lot of foolish things that are not good for the whole society and themselves in the long run. So that's pretty much it for me for today. I think it's already been 7 minutes 50 seconds now. Let me touch on some other ends I hadn't touched on. So Devil's Advocate, let me finish up with that because this will be my best video then, or the most informative video. I don't know how organized it sounds like right now, but Devil's Advocate is the most profound movie in terms of philosophy and theology and religion and stuff and the inner spirit. And it really is a spiritual experience to watch that movie, because that movie is a very thought-provoking movie. It really makes you wonder and really enlightens you, and also makes you think to expand beyond that, you know, what they tell you. So it's a really beautiful movie to really study and analyze and learn from, because a lot of stuff is shown there. A lot of spiritual knowledge is found in that movie. So Devil's Advocate is a beautiful, beautiful movie to watch. And it talks a lot about just sex and how sex controls and changes people's decisions and minds and actions and so forth, and how it causes ruination to those near and dear ones too. So definitely check out Devil's Advocate and Fast Times at Ridgemont High and Dazed and Confused, and They Live, Brazil, and all those other movies. All right, that's enough for right now, and check out my Millennium videos. They'll be coming up soon, but this will be more theoretical, so I don't know how interesting it'll be. If you like sociology like me, then you might want to check them out. All right, later.